Tawanda, how are you?
Yes, ma'am. I am doing fantastic. How about yourself?
I can't complain. I can't complain.
Good.
Um, I released your video on Monday. We got
Okay.
some good feedback, and people had other questions. So I decided to do this thing on Thursdays called Afterthought. Like I listen to it myself. I hear other people's opinion, and then I ask some questions of other things about I should have maybe asked when we were in the moment. So I'm hoping to. This is the first time I'm doing it, so bear with me,
Okay.
and let's do it.
Nice. You mind if I sip some wine while we talk?
By all means, by all means. I would be insulted if you did not. Okay. So, welcome to InnerPreneur, the
Thank you.
podcast that really talks about the business of taking care of you. That's
Yes.
what InnerPreneurs is. It's about the business of taking care of you.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we first talked, probably a month or so ago, we had a very, very inspiring conversation. I loved a lot of the things that you said. But there are about three questions that I'm going to ask you to just revisit a little bit.
Okay.
And the first question was, you said to me, you said, I'm not religious, but
Mm-hmm.
I have relationship.
Yes.
And my thought was, I should say, well, tell me about your relationship. What does that
Mm-hmm.
mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because people, that whole thing with religion, etc. What's your relationship? Who is your relationship with? I don't want to
Yeah.
assume. So you tell me, like,
Yeah.
what is the relationship? If you're not religious, then what is relationship?
So my relationship is with a higher power, and my higher power happens to be God and Jesus Christ, right? Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, and I can't get to God but through Him. And so my relationship is with them, as well as with the Spirit. Like I really do feel like the Spirit of God is in me, and sometimes I have to wake it up because by me not practicing or like gratefulness or thankfulness or just the things that I know that I need to do, sometimes that spirit kind of goes to sleep.
Right?
I have to get back into that communicating, right? And that's the relationship that I have, that communication between me, the spirit, Jesus, and God.
So, in relationship to the spirit,
Hmm.
and you saying you have to wake that up.
Yes.
Um, that's really a good way to put it, because sometimes we get into day-to-day life and we get caught up and we forget.
Yep.
And it is that connection that walks us through life in a much easier way if we take the
Yes.
time to respect it, and
Yes.
to, just like we get up every morning and brush our teeth, if we take a
Hmm.
moment to, well, everybody don't get up and brush. No.
I hope so. I hope so. Don't come talking to me if you do.
No, but really, to have that relationship, like every morning I wake up and I pray and I
Yes.
ask for guidance, because at the
Yes.
end of the day, I can't figure it out alone.
Right.
So I love when you said, I'm not religion, but I have relationship. I said,
Yeah.
yes, that's a bar.
Okay. Like, honestly, I really do have these instances when I wake up in my twilight and I am practicing gratefulness, right? I am thanking and all of that, and just praying for my family, praying for me, praying over my business and all of that. But sometimes in that twilight, I literally feel and hear my spirit praying on my behalf. Like I'm not fully functioning yet, and I know it's not me, because when you're talking, when you're praying, when you're saying thank you, Lord, or I'm grateful, blah, blah, blah. But to really feel and hear that spirit interceding on your behalf is like, whoa, yeah, that's awesome right there. And and then that makes me, when I really do wake up out of the twilight and I'm like actively thanking and being grateful, I have to also thank my spirit for doing that for me, because like I said, sometimes I let it go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I am doing that day to day, and I'm kind of functioning robotically, if you will, just
Yes.
going through the motions, just making like, look, wake up, do what you got to do till it's time to go to bed, you know. But again, to have that spirit to be able to speak on your behalf and kind of do the things that you know you may need to do, but you're not, but it's doing it on my behalf. So yeah, it's a relationship for me. It's not a religion. Now, I will say this though. I got my start in the church early by myself. It wasn't something that my mom did. It was something that I just always felt in me. And I think I mentioned it in the interview where I would go to church on my own in elementary school, middle school. And I just always felt a closeness to God. I don't know. And it's crazy because what I'm about to say, and I think I may have mentioned it before too. I am heavy on the Capricorn stuff. And I know people like, well, how can you do, astrology or whatever, and then you talk about God and all that other stuff too? Well, I'm heavy on it because I am a Capricorn. We begin and end the year. We are the beginning and the end. And not to say that I am God, but I am God with a small g. And so, because of that, my relationship with Him allows me to be who I am, and religion doesn't necessarily allow you to be who you are. Religion, in my opinion, tells you who you're supposed to be. Relationship says, hey, you're accepting me for who I am because no matter how I am, you made me, and you are able to see me through all of my flaws and still accept me. Religion doesn't do that.
Preach, baby, preach. I receive it. I receive it 100%. Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And so many people uh, make decisions. That whole thing about church hurt and all those, it's really a
Real.
horrible burden to put
Yeah.
on anyone.
Yeah.
And God Himself would never do that, in my
Right.
opinion. He would never put that kind of pressure on you and do
Exactly.
things that are against who you truly are,
Yeah.
because then He would be insulting Himself because He
Yeah.
made you, right?
That part. That
So
part. I mean, when you read the Bible, like it talks about we are made in the image of Christ. So you to what you just said, like if He doesn't like what I'm doing, and that's not to say that everything that I do is acceptable, right? Because He has given us the power of choice. And
mhm.
so, because we have that power of choice through, I mean, we about to go back to Genesis with Adam and Eve and all of that, and opening up those whole can of worms. But because we now have that power, we can see the things that we weren't supposed to see, that He was trying to shield us from. He still accepts us who we are. I mean, you look at it like, who did Jesus surround Himself by? It wasn't just the saints, it was some of the people who were doing things that the religious people abhorred. But God, Jesus said, they are my people.
Mm.
So who am I to take somebody's religious beliefs and squash what Jesus already said? Like, you're not God, you're not Jesus, your interpretation is wrong. So
I receive it. I love
yeah.
that. I love that. Well, I want to end that with amen.
Yeah, because I could keep going. So
No, no, no. I mean, and if you choose to, but I mean, I just felt I needed to say amen. Okay. So, I receive it. Yeah. And let me just say for the record, I will be using, I'm not religious.
Mhm,
I have relationship just for the,
mhm.
and I will give you your credit. Okay. I just
Oh,
want to put
no
that out.
problem. No
Um,
problem. I'm not the first to say it, I'm sure.
no, but it was so cool. I loved it. And so I wanted to and follow up with that, right? Because I think we went right to something else, and to expound on that, I think is very important. For
Mhm.
people to understand, what your relationship is,
Yeah.
and you're not, especially the religious folks. We don't want them to think, well, but she's not religious, and what is she? you know.
But you know what? And to me, because I used to be like that, like I said, I went to church when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
I've raised my children in the church. I've been usher on the usher board. I've been a deacon. I've done all of those things. So I understand how they think, if you will. But in the same vein that they want to, not everybody, but in the same vein, people want to scrutinize what I'm saying. You right there are going against the word because you're judging. There's nobody perfect but God. Nobody. So if I have my thoughts, that's between me and the Christ I serve, not between me and you. You figure that out. And if that bothers you so much, then there's something else that you need to work on within yourself. Don't come questioning me. I had a relationship.
Don't put your triggers on me.
That hard. Okay, you need to go to therapy or something because you've been scarred.
And that is so true. I find when people react or against you, it's something they're projecting. They're projecting your stuff on you instead of looking at themselves and thinking, why is this affecting me? And that's why I'm so passionate about doing the show, because so many people really need to stop and start to ask themselves questions.
Yes.
I think so many, every day we just go day in and day out and we don't stop and think about our reactions while we're doing what we're doing. We just on autopilot, as you said earlier. And that is no way to live a fulfilled life.
No.
And that's what God has in store for us. And that's what we
indeed
move forward to it. Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Amen. I'm with you. So the next thing I wanted to move to was you talked a lot about your husband. You said a lot of things about your husband and the fact that you guys have been together for 32 years.
Yes.
And now and you've been married for 30. Is it 30 now still?
It'll be 30 in September.
Okay, so you might as well say 30 years. You've been married for 30 years. And what I loved about your relationship was how he was always looking to accommodate you in what you wanted to be. And to stand with you in whatever you wanted to be. And then you said, and then you were talking about being submissive and don't take that the wrong way. And then I asked you the question about, well, how does that work in terms of submissive? Well, you said, I learned to do that because he told me to stop trying to be his mother.
Right.
Right. And so I want to give you kudos for that, because sometimes we need to hear the whispers of what our mate is saying.
Yes.
And you took time to receive that. And maybe you didn't receive it on the first time or the second time, but at some point you received it and made the change.
Right.
But the real question I wanted to ask is, I got the impression that your husband is very intuitive for a man.
He is.
And I don't mean that, gentlemen, in any way, but most men aren't in touch with their feminine side. Right. And so what I wanted to ask you was, has he always been like that? Has he done therapy, or is there something that's made him because what I heard was an evolution of a man that was constantly growing, but also seeing his wife for who she is.
Right.
And really still being in there and trying to be the best man he could be.
Yeah. So that's a family trait.
Okay.
With him. It started, as far as I understand, with his grandfather. He was such a gentleman, just a wonderful man, just intelligent, just kind and caring, hard worker. That translated and then moved into my father-in-law, who is the same, just a very caring person. I mean, I'm not gonna get into his business, but he's just an all-around great guy, right? And then so it has moved into my husband, and it's funny that you bring that topic up today, because my youngest son and I had that very same conversation yesterday.
Wow.
And the men are they're very sensitive, if you will.
Okay.
Like, they are okay with crying. I thought my middle son was a little tougher, but he was like, no, if it's means enough to him, if you will. And that's not quite the right term, but he does cry as well. And so, it's just really passed down through their genes. It just really is. And I think the conversations that they have as men allow them to be like that with women. My youngest son literally was saying yesterday that he puts out this content on TikTok and Instagram. And a lot of guys call him gay and say all kinds of stuff because he's in touch with that emotional side. And he talks about the patriarchy and all that other stuff, and how men need to treat women and how they need to listen to women, and just be a little bit more emotional because it's okay. That's not a feminine thing to be emotional. It's a human thing to be emotional. And so it's just a trait that's been passed down. And I'm not going to say that he's been like that 100%, because as women, some of us don't know how to ask for what we want. Some women can be direct. This is what I want you to do. This is how I want it to be, blah, blah, blah. And some of us kind of like figure men should know. And so for those men who are in those types of relationships, you have to kind of build that muscle of remembrance, if you will, that memory muscle. Like, okay, the last time she did this, she felt like that. So let me remember that. And so he has had to deal with some of that. Like, she did this. All right, let me make sure I don't do that again or whatever. And but then there are times where he can look at me and tell that he needs to do something or say something or whatever. And so I will say majority of the time it has been like that. Not always, but a good deal. And it really is because it's been passed down.
It's an awesome trait to have,
Yeah.
especially from a male perspective. What do you say to women? I heard what you said, your son said about other men, and that's their growth. That's their.
Yeah.
But what do you say to other women? Because some women can't receive a man being in touch with his feminine side, or having an emotional moment.
Yeah.
They see him as a weak man. What would you say? And you might miss out on a good man because
that part.
because you're not. Your perspective is very narrow.
Yeah. Honestly, being raised by a single mom, and knowing some of the things that she had to deal with my dad and other men, some of us grow up with the hard outer shell. We grow up protecting, right? And my therapist told me I'm a protector. And so sometimes when you are a protector, you put that shield up and you don't want anything to infiltrate that. And if you feel like you have to be strong, then he needs to be strong too. And that means holding back your emotions, holding back the tears, not speaking your truth, not having open conversations about your feelings and all of that. And so what I would say to other women is exactly what you said. You might be missing out on a good man, because I've had men in my life where they wouldn't dare do that. And I grew up thinking that I wanted somebody to be a protector of me. And to me, that meant somebody who is strong and boisterous and all of that. But I was those things. So what I really needed was what I had, right? Is what was blessed with, what I was blessed with. Somebody who could, now, all the women are talking about this soft girl summer or whatever it's called, soft girl something. And so, but in order to have that, you also need to have a man that can understand your emotions. It's crazy. My youngest, he's 24. We were literally talking about this yesterday. If you don't have a man who understands emotions, when you get emotional, he's not going to be able to deal with it. And vice versa. If you are allowed to feel stuff, why can't he feel things? I remember when I first met Tony and we would watch movies and I look over and he would be crying, like tears just run. I'm like, what in the world? This brother got tears coming. That's strange. But then I started understanding that, but it's okay. That does not make him weak. When I need him to be strong, he's going to be strong. Just like when he needs me to be strong, I'm going to be strong. Look, there's plenty of women missing out because these men are getting in touch with their emotions, and they need to because it's healthy. It is not healthy to hold all of that stuff in. It's just not. You're breaking him down internally. Mm-hmm. He is missing an integral part of being himself, being allowed to be that. That is not, to me, the ultimate strong man is somebody who is in touch with his emotions. That's strength.
Vulnerability is the greatest, I can't think of the word. It's the greatest thing that anyone can do for themselves. Mm-hmm. To be truly their authentic self, and to be not afraid to let out whatever emotion it is.
Yeah.
And when we speak from a male perspective, I think that it's impaired. So that's why so many men, I believe, die of heart attacks, are very unhappy, shut down.
Yep.
And I would think that's a horrible way to live.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And as you said, he can be strong when he needs to be strong, and he can be vulnerable when he needs to be vulnerable. Yeah. And that's a great balance for us. So again, as I said then, and I'm gonna say it again, yep, you've been blessed.
But you have to think about where that originated from, though.
Let's talk about it.
Where did that? So he and I were just talking about something, and I wish he could overhear me, because then he could tell me what the report was. So there's some report out there, begins with the M, and it talked about, he likes to watch documentaries, and he was looking at this documentary, and the lady was talking about it as a disco documentary, and she was talking about how this government report written by Caucasian men said that we need to figure out what the problem is with men of color, with Latinos, with Asians, and with Black women. And it said that Black women are basically the Black man's problem. That's why they're not succeeding, because of us. A lot of that stuff has been put into our community. We always talk about alcohol and drugs and guns and stuff like that. What about your thoughts? That stuff is also put into our communities as well, to make us fight against one another. Mm-hmm. Right? Can you imagine the strength of the Black family when you have a strong and emotionally cognizant man and a strong and emotionally cognizant woman together, raising those type of children? For people who say kids are sheep and all that other stuff, we'll say children, right? Like, to have those types of families who are that aware, and to be able to put that into our children so they can grow up and just keep moving that along, right? Kind of negating that old ideology of what the Black family is, what a Black woman is, what a Black man's supposed to be. It just, I don't know. We just need to take a look at the origin of our thoughts and make sure that it's not something that was also planted in the community. I'm gonna take my husband crying over a movie or oohing and on over a little baby or a puppy any day. Any day than somebody who, like you said, they are just holding in all of those emotions for a facade of what the world says that you should be as a man. When God said we're all humans, everything that he placed in us, he placed in them. Come lay your head on my shoulder. I got you, just like you have me. I bet you if a lot of women decided to accept men in their emotional state and help build them up and edify them, their lives would just be completely different. I mean, I can go down the list of friends that I have whose men saw the potential and the strength in their women, and whose women saw the vulnerability yet strength and love for family in the men, and the two of them have come together and have done wonderful things, great things. We have to accept each other and not trying to put each other in some type of stereotype. Stop.
We don't need to conform.
No.
We need to
No.
trust ourselves and our
No.
intuition, and that together we can bond and be okay.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I receive everything you're saying, and I think that point of view is awesome. I think that we as women definitely need to really be more supportive of our men and have an expectation that's realistic.
Yeah. And I think they in turn need to be supportive of us too, because they have to understand what's been ingrained in them. You know, that we're angry and loud and boisterous and authoritative and dominant and all that other stuff. Well, why? Why have we been like that? What happened to our ancestor, our women ancestors, to pass that down to us today? Right? I think we all just need some introspection. Take a look at your history and start changing it. That's what needs to happen. Like, how do you want your life to be? Period. Point blank. How do you want your life to be? You know, I saw a post on Instagram yesterday, and this Black guy said that he went to therapy, and his therapist said, write down a list of things you want in a wife.
I know what you guys say. Yeah, go ahead.
So he wrote a whole list. He said he even turned the page over and had a whole list of stuff that he wanted for his wife. And then she said, okay, now write some things, you know, about yourself, like who you could be. He was like, I think I figured out 3. It was things he should change in order to be, I guess, prepared for this wife. And he said he could only think about 3 to 4 things max. And she said, okay, so you be every one of those 30 things that you put down for the wife.
Real talk. You have to be what you want.
That part.
You have to be. We missed that point. You can't have what you want.
Yeah.
Right. We are a reflection of our mate. Usually is a reflection of ourselves somewhere. Right. Yep. And so if you aren't being, you can't expect to attract what you aren't being.
Exactly.
Because you're not vibrating at the same level. So how in the world can I expect all of these things? You know, what I've done in my life, I've decided, you know, I used to think I wanted all these things. Mm-hmm. And what I really have come to the conclusion is that I've said to God, you know me better than I know myself. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to trust you to bring me the right person. And while I continue to work on who I am and being the best version of myself. That when we connect at a place that makes sense for both of us. And we both have worked it out. So I receive what you're saying 100%. 100%.
Yeah. I hope
the last
topic.
Huh?
I said I hope I stayed on topic.
Oh, no, it's all good.
Off sometimes.
No. I love it. No, because when you say and you speak from your heart, right? Mm-hmm. You're giving nuggets that anybody can listen to and they can think about it. And that's the point. That's really the point, right?
Yeah.
There's one more thing I'm going to ask you.
Sure.
And it's really like a little question and answer thing I want to ask
Okay.
you. So in the previous interview, you were talking about, certain, I asked you, what would you tell your younger self?
Mm-hmm.
And we got to the point of being worthy,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that you are worthy, that you deserve everything that you can get.
Mm-hmm.
And then it reminded me of a quote by Wayne Dyer, and he was saying that self-worth comes from one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then and he said, it's just thinking that you're worthy.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
Yeah.
And so I had some questions that I wanted to ask you in terms of your evolution of being worthy. Like
Yes.
for other people to see what they need to do if they're having issues with self-worth, or they're
Mm-hmm.
feeling like there are things that they can work on. And I believe there are things that we're always going to have to work on to the day we die,
Mm-hmm.
because the
Yeah.
little girl or the little boy in us is always going to be in us.
Right.
And so as we heal from one thing, we evolve to heal to something else.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yes.
so the first question I wanted to ask you is, what do you love about yourself?
Oh, let's see. I love my realness. Um, I am starting to love that, honestly. I think that was one thing that over my life people did not appreciate about me. My husband used to always say, Tawanda, people can't handle the truth. And my makeup is just that of honesty. I can't be anything other than that. Like it literally eats at my core to do something that's not honorable, that's not trustworthy, right? And so, I love that about me. Today, what I love about me is that I I had the opportunity to speak to a therapist. And in those sessions, I learned some things about me dealing with that not feeling worthy, right? And where that came from. And so being able now to analyze my past as it relates to my present is something that I absolutely love, because now I'm able to really sit and dissect things and try to see them for what they really are, and not that it's a knock against who I am. It's something that I may have gone through in my past that put me where I am today. And so being able again to just dissect that and move on and not hold myself captive to that is something that I love.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
You've mentioned therapy a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
What made you feel that you had to go to therapy? Like what was the trigger for you that said, hey, maybe I need to talk to somebody objective
Mm-hmm.
to really help me through maybe some issues that I'm going through? What made you make that move?
Um, because I wasn't happy.
Mm.
There were a lot of things in my past that kept coming up, and they would come up around the same time every year.
Mm.
And it was things that I thought that I had gotten rid of from years ago, 20 some odd years ago, that I just suppressed. And so I knew that if I wanted to genuinely be happy, if I wanted to be happy in my relationship, because an unhappy person in a relationship can ultimately start to kill your relationship.
Mm.
And so I
Say it
was,
again.
yeah, like an unhappy person in a relationship can ultimately kill the relationship. And so I said, if this is where I truly want to be, then I need to figure some things out. I need to talk to somebody because I need to understand some of my thoughts. I'm
Mm.
thinking that I know what I'm doing over the years. I'm reading books, I'm praying, I'm doing all kinds of things. And I'm self-medicating, if you will, with words, but the symptoms never go away. Like the thing never goes away.
Mm.
It keeps
Mm.
coming back, right?
Mhm.
And so I'm like, let me do this, because at the end of the day, I don't want to die unhappy. that's a wasted life.
Yes, indeed.
So made the conscious decision to do it, and she is awesome. Like, she really is. She just like that. And I know sometimes it's hard to find a therapist, and I was so grateful that I was able to find her my first go around. But she was able to put words to some of my thoughts, and she was also able to confirm some of my feelings and affirm some of my feelings, where I didn't feel any longer like I was doing something wrong. And so, yeah, I'm a big proponent of therapy for men and for women, because it's stuff that you just need to get off your chest. Like, and you don't need somebody that's a yes person, and you don't need somebody that's going to criticize you. You need someone who really listens and helps you interpret and understand what it is that you're going through.
Did you and your husband go to therapy?
Years ago.
Okay.
Years ago, yeah. I think, oh gosh, maybe 25 years ago, maybe 20, no, maybe not that long. 20, yeah, maybe about 24, 20, 23 years ago we did. But this is something that I needed to do for me.
Got it.
He's gone on his own because,
Receive.
things came up that he felt like he needed to deal with. He went a couple years ago, did a couple sessions, and he was good. But yeah, this was me. Like, I needed to do this for me so I can finally build up who I am. And then talking about like that confidence in yourself and all of that other stuff, that was one of the things that I talked about with her as well. And in speaking with her, I was able to pinpoint why I lacked confidence. And it wasn't so much the lack of confidence as it was me not wanting to have a certain person in my life think that I was better than that person. And so I always wanted to be humble. And in that humility, I started to lack the confidence because I wasn't putting myself out there like I should have been. But it's because I didn't want that person thinking, oh, she thinks she better than me. And then, so.
Yeah. It's interesting how we do so many things because we perceive or we're worried about what somebody else thinks.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes we don't really ever know what they think. But more importantly, at the end of the day, doesn't matter. Because if they don't, if they have a problem with it, then they're not your person. They're not meant to be in your life. I mean, I've learned that like so many, I learned that a little bit back. I was like, I don't need people who I have to cater to all the time. And I'm worried about what they think all the time. That's too much work. And you lose yourself in it. You lose yourself.
You lose yourself a lot, but it's tough when it's family.
I receive it. I do.
Yeah.
I get that part.
And it, it wasn't even that person's fault. It was someone else who was doing something, but edified me and put that person down. And it's like, from that, I'm like, well, that doesn't make me feel good because now that person mad at me. Like, and I didn't even do it. And so, I just, because of that, I always kind of dumb myself down, if you will, around that person.
Got you.
Yeah.
Now you dumb yourself up.
Well, all the time. Like, it is what it is. I have stuff to do. Like, I have to play catch up now. So.
I received it. Yes, absolutely. Tell me what you love about your life.
I love my relationships. I love the relationship with my husband. I love the relationship with my children. I love that I am finally making some good connections with some phenomenal women.
Nice.
Because my husband and I got together straight out of high school, it was always about him and my family. And I just never really had like girlfriends. I had friends, acquaintances or whatever in high school, but not, good girlfriends. And I'm starting to grow that group. And
Yeah.
it's so much fun to just hang out with other women and just enjoy each other and enjoy life, and then be able to come home and enjoy my husband and talk to my children and stuff like that from time to time, because those suckers don't call all the time.
Right. They're out there living their life. I
Yes,
got it.
they are. Yup, and good for them. But I'm loving that right now. And I'm loving where I am, even with my business, with the decision to really pivot and work on what it is that I really want to work on. So I'm loving all of that right now.
Awesome. Awesome. What are the flaws? What are the flaws that you accept about yourself?
My temperament, you know. I'm a nice person, and I know people say if you got to say it, then you're not. No, but I really am. So I know you asked what are my flaws, and I'm about to say what I love about myself again. I love my Capricorn traits because I'm true to them. But sometimes that can be a flaw too, because I don't give people a lot of grace. And then I know the religious people will be like, see, you think you God too. No, I understand that about myself. And that's what I don't like, because if I'm asking for grace, then I need to give grace.
Received. I get
And
it.
I need to also allow people to be them. Right. And that's one of the things, like in the relationship, just allowing people to be themselves makes you happier. Because
Mm.
if you're always nitpicking at everything, and if my husband is listening to me, he like, say that when you see that person riding in the street with their bike. But some things, because I am such a letter of the law person, um, some things irritate me that shouldn't irritate me. And so I kind of don't like that about myself, because it's like people going people. Don't let them live in their lives irritate you. I know that the law says that you shouldn't do XYZ. If they want to disobey the law, that's on them. What does that have to do with you? And so, that's one of the things I don't like, kind of taking on other people's foolishness, and it has nothing to do with me.
It's funny you said that. It brings me my cousin. Um, like when she drives, she's gets upset, blowing the horn, all this, and then when she rides with me, I don't get caught up. Like
Yeah.
in, I'm just driving. I'm going to get to where I'm going. It
Mhm.
doesn't. I don't get upset. Why you let that person over? Da 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 da. And so then and so she ended up having lung cancer, so it meant that I had to drive her a lot of places, right?
Mhm.
And it's funny. She was told me the other day. She said, "I've learned to be okay, and like you're driving Miss Daisy, and I
Mhm.
don't get upset anymore
Yeah.
when people jump in front of you or whatever, whatever. I see because it doesn't really bother you, and I realize that it's not a big deal at the end, right?
Yeah.
It's, I mean, I just don't. It's never really bothered me. It's like whatever. And
Yeah.
like people, like if say I jump in front of somebody, they act crazy. I always look and say, I'm sorry. And I keep it moving because
Uh-huh.
you're tripping. I mean,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
all out here together trying to get somewhere safely. That's all
That
we're trying
part.
to do,
That part.
right?
It's really not that serious.
It's not.
It really isn't. But I'm gonna tell you, those people with them daggone kids in those carts, you in the middle of the street in rush hour traffic, biking your kids in those little wooden carts,
It stresses you.
because it's not safe. I think it's not safe.
I get you.
My thing is, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Mm, okay.
Just because you can do that, people drive crazy. And I feel like you're putting those babies in harm's way, because you either want to get some exercise, or because you can drive the bike to school with your. But I
Well, the
need to
biggest
see.
thing is they're behind them, so they really can't see the way they should be able to see.
But and that too, but you're in the street during rush hour traffic. What are we doing? So, but anyway, but again, you see how I got my temperament. I need to relax. That's something I don't like about myself. Like, Tawanda, what does that have to do with you? Nothing. Keep it moving.
Well,
So
we're all a work in progress.
yeah.
Let me ask you, what are three things that make you happy?
Ah, God's grace.
Mm.
Yes. Um, I love happy hour and drinking red wine.
Cheers.
Um, and I like being with my husband. I do. I love it now. Like, I say now, you're like, wait a minute now. Nothing is ever perfect, right? And
Oh,
so,
absolutely not.
once I had my therapy sessions, it just really kind of helped me shake some things. And I really enjoy that. I love hanging out with him. He's just such a cool guy, and he makes me want to learn how to relax even more because he's just so chill, and sometimes it's so annoying. And then, but I have to look at him and be a little envious because I'm like, you just chilling. And I'm like, you good? And he was like, yeah. I'm like, relaxed. I'm like, okay, well, Tawanda, relax your shoulders. Why are you sitting here all tense and you supposed to be. And so I really like that. That makes me happy hanging out with him because it helps me also learn to be a better version of myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the last is, who is your ideal self? Like, what would you like to see the best version of yourself be?
Hmm. So, um, I've been listening to this book on Audible, and I actually started reading it a while back, and then stopped and then started listening to it again. And it's called High Performance Habits. I had to look it up on my phone real quick. High Performance Habits. And so in that book, it tells you to kind of come up with three things or three definitions or attributes or whatever of yourself, for the lack of the correct term. Don't get me out there, scholars, unless you don't even know how to say whatever. And so the three words that I came up with are accomplished, healthy, and fun.
Mm.
And so that's my ideal self, my version of being accomplished. And that's really just fulfilling the goals that I have for myself, as long as they align with God's purpose for me. Being healthy, you don't think about that when you're young, but as you get older, you're like, oh my gosh, let me stop eating this, let me go to the gym, let me do blah blah blah. And so just being healthy, and then being a fun person, because I've been known to be very serious. And so sometimes, like, when people see me, they don't even realize how silly I can really be. I'd be like, she's funny as I don't know what. And they're like, oh, she's always prim and proper. So I'm like, I just don't know. Um, and so, but to just really have fun, living out the rest of these days of my life, because I don't want it to be always just so serious and so professional and so focused and all of that. I really want to enjoy myself. Like you said, that kid lives in us till the day we die, right? And so that was one of the things that my therapist said. She was like, tap back into little Tawanda.
Mm-hmm.
What did little Tawanda like? And that may not be something that you like now, but start there and remembering those things, and then start to implement some of those things. And even though I was a serious child as well, but I felt like I thought I was fun and funny. Um, I would like to tap into those things and just start to have fun again.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
I received that. Uh, sometimes we a lot of people said that about me. I think I'm really serious and all that, but
Yeah.
I'm really not.
You know,
um,
is we are when we have to be. Like
right,
everything doesn't
exactly.
require you to be silly. Like sometimes you have to be professional. Sometimes you have to be focused and all of that. But other time when I get to know you, you oh, she's a mess. So yeah.
Got it. Got it. I always enjoy talking to you. I really do. I love your passion. I love that you speak from your heart. You say how you truly feel. And for me, it's a joy.
Oh,
It's
thank
a joy.
you. Thank you. I
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much. Um, Thanks for walking on this journey with me.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me. And I'll leave you with this because you're one of the things you'll see is that or get to learn is when I know you and I like you, I don't stop talking. And so, but one of the things that and I lost my train of thought, so I'm gonna try to remember it really quickly. Um,
Take your time.
yeah, so one of the things that I always tell people is that sometimes you go through stuff not for you, but for others. And so to hold on to your life's lessons and not share that with people, I think is doing humanity a disservice. Um,
Absolutely.
Everything that you go through is not for everybody, but it could benefit somebody, right? And so, it's things like this, it's having conversations like this and just being able to put it out there. Because if I can just touch one person and make them feel comfortable in their own skin, if I can touch one couple and make them take a look at each other and understand that they were made for one another and that it is okay to allow your mate to be who they truly and authentically are, just like you want that for yourself, then I've done something, right? For somebody who doesn't feel confident in their abilities to be able to go tap back in and understand that that's not you. Maybe that was something that happened to you or whatever. And now you can go and be this confident, strong, bold person that you know inside that you are. Right. So I love stuff like this. And I really do appreciate you bringing me on and feeling like I had something to say.
Not feeling, I knew it. I knew it. Yes, and that's why I'm grateful that you really allow me to have these conversations with you.
Yeah, yeah, no problem at all.
I'm truly grateful.
Yeah, well, again, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So here we are again
Hmm.
at the end of our talk. And I just want to say to anyone who listens to this is that everything we do in life comes from within.
Hmm.
Who we are, who we're becoming, and who we will be all starts from within.
Yes.
So the whole point of this conversation is if you heard anything, if one person, like Tawana said, and it dropped on them and it made a difference in your life, then we're grateful.
Yes.
Thanks again. Thanks for listening. That's Tawanda Thomas, and I'm Tonya Camille. And thanks again. I appreciate you, Tawanda.
Thank you.
Bye.